Why are we here? It's got to be the oldest, deepest question we humans ask ourselves, right? For so many of us, that search for purpose, for a real reason to get out of bed in the morning, well, it's a lifelong journey. Today, we're going to dive into the work of a man who didn't just think about this question. He lived it, under circumstances that are honestly just unimaginable.
This is Viktor Frankl. And look, to really get his ideas, you first have to get his story. He was a survivor of the Nazi concentration camps. He saw the absolute worst of humanity, but also the most incredible, unbelievable resilience. And it was right there, in the middle of all that suffering, that he built a philosophy. Not one of despair, but one of profound, almost defiant meaning.
All right, first up, a psychiatrist finds meaning, the third school of Viennese psychotherapy. Now, Frankl wasn't just some philosopher, right? He was a huge deal in the world of psychology. He actually founded what's called the third school of Viennese psychotherapy. That puts him right up there with two other giants you've definitely heard of, Sigmund Freud and Alfred Adler. And, as we're about to see, his big ideas were a direct challenge to theirs.
So who exactly was this guy? Well, he was an Austrian neurologist and psychologist. He was a Holocaust survivor, which is just central to everything. He founded Logotherapy, which is basically a therapy all about finding meaning. And on top of all that, he wrote 39 books. You can see how each part of his life built on the last, leading to this incredibly powerful theory about what really drives us as people.
Okay, next section, the modern meaning crisis, a challenge to psychiatry. So Frankl believed that modern society was up against this really unique and kind of dangerous problem, something he saw as a major challenge for psychiatry itself. He gave it a name, the existential vacuum.
So let's just make this personal for a second. What happens when we lack a purpose to pull us forward? You know that feeling when your sense of purpose just fades? When there's no clear why that gets you going? That feeling of just drifting, of emptiness. That's exactly what Frankl was talking about. It's this void that, let's be honest, a lot of us feel, even when we're surrounded by all the comforts and distractions in the world.
So here's what he called it, the existential vacuum. He defined it as this widespread condition of just profound meaninglessness, emptiness, and boredom. It's that nagging feeling that your life doesn't really have a mission. And Frankl didn't see this as some rare psychological issue. No, he saw it as a massive problem for the whole modern world.
So why is this happening? Well, Frankl boiled it down to two main causes. First, unlike animals, we don't have instincts telling us what to do every second. And second, all those traditions, those cultural rules that used to tell us what we should do, they're rapidly eroding. So we're kind of left on our own, floating in this space where we have to figure it all out from scratch.
And he had a name for this feeling too. Frankl called it the abyss experience. It's that dizzying feeling of standing at the edge of a huge, empty canyon. You feel totally disoriented, completely lost in a world where all the road signs have been torn down.
But, and this is the whole point, Frankl did not leave us stuck in that abyss. He showed us a way out. This brings us to our deepest human drive, the will to meaning. He argued that our most fundamental drive as human beings, the thing we want more than anything else, isn't pleasure, and it isn't power. It's something else entirely, a will to meaning.
And this is where you can really see his revolution in psychology. You had Sigmund Freud, who said our main drive is the will to pleasure. Then you had Alfred Adler, who focused on the will to power. But Frankl came in and proposed this third way. He said, no, what really motivates us, what makes us human, is our deep, built-in search for purpose.
And this leads to a super important point. He said, happiness arises naturally as a byproduct of fulfilling meaningful goals rather than being a direct pursuit. Basically, you can't chase happiness directly. It doesn't work. Frankl argued that happiness isn't the goal. It's what happens to you. It's a side effect you get when you're totally wrapped up in something meaningful. The more you try to grab onto happiness, the more it slips through your fingers. Okay, so if this will to meaning is our main drive, how do we actually do it? How do we find that meaning? This brings us to the next part. 3 paths to purpose, how we discover meaning. And the great thing is, Frankl didn't just leave this as some big abstract idea. He gave us a really clear, practical toolkit with 3 specific paths.
That's right, 3. He gave us 3 specific, concrete ways to go out and discover meaning. Let's break them down.
So what are Frankl's 3 paths? First up, by creating a work or doing a deed. This is all about creativity, what we give to the world. It could be building a company, raising a family, creating art, you name it. Second, by experiencing something or encountering someone. This is about what we take from the world, appreciating nature, art, or, most importantly, love, and connecting deeply with another person. And third, and this might be his most powerful idea of all, it's about the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering, the stuff we just can't change.
And that third path, that's what brings us to the absolute heart of Frankl's philosophy, the ultimate human freedom, our power to choose. It's this incredible idea that no matter what is happening to us on the outside, we always have one final inner freedom, the power to choose how we respond.
Now, Frankl was no optimist who ignored the hard stuff. He called pain, guilt, and death the tragic triad. These are the three unavoidable realities of just being human. No one, and I mean no one, gets to escape them.
But, and this is the whole game changer, we can find meaning even in that suffering through the attitude we choose. The tragic triad is a given, okay, but our response to it is not. Frankl's point was that it's in the very moment we face this stuff, this unavoidable pain, that we can find our deepest purpose. It's not about trying to avoid suffering. It's about turning it into an achievement, into something that shows what we're made of.
And this quote, man, this quote is everything. It's the core of his whole philosophy. He wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Think about that. He lost everything, his family, his home, his dignity, and he realized that there was still one thing no one could ever take away, his freedom to choose his own attitude. That inner choice, he said, is the last and the greatest of all our freedoms.
But he wasn't done. He had one last crucial point to make. He said that freedom is only half the story. It's just the negative part of the whole picture. Freedom from something, like oppression or rules, that's just step one.
So, to make this idea really stick, Frankl actually proposed that there should be a statue of responsibility on the West Coast to balance out the Statue of Liberty on the East Coast, because his big fear was that freedom, all by itself, could just turn into doing whatever you want, whenever you want, unless it's balanced by responsibility.
And that brings us to the final question, a question for you. Liberty gives you freedom. What will you be responsible for? See, Frankl's work isn't just some dusty old theory. It's a direct challenge to every single one of us. It tells us that we have this incredible freedom to choose our attitude, to create our own meaning. So the question he leaves us with is this: what will you choose to be responsible for?